Dr. Henry Cloud talks about this and says that whenever we're feeling some form of an issue, an obstacle, a weight on us, we can move to this feeling of a victim that leaves us with these 3 Ps. That this change or this problem feels personal, it feels pervasive, and it feels permanent. Personal, it feels like it's only me that's going through this. No, a lot of people feel stuck inside of their lives. It's not just you. It feels pervasive. It's true in every area of life. In every area of life, I'm struggling right now, and it's not working for me, and it doesn't fit, and that's just not true in your own life. And then it feels permanent. It's always going to be this way. That's that death spiral you're talking about, Jonathan, that we can go into where we're just feeling like, oh man, we're stuck inside of this. What gets us out of this is actually moving. I want to give you a key kind of question that is actually a tool here, not something to reflect on, but a tool for you is when you're feeling stuck inside of an area of your life. Instead of saying, well, here's the way it is, lift up your vantage and ask, what would have to be true in order to blank? Let's say you're feeling stuck financially. So many Americans feeling stuck financially right now. This is an expensive time to live. And if you're feeling stuck financially and say, oh, I could never. I talked to a leader the other day, said, oh, I could never take a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in, I think it was 6 years. Then shifted to what would have to be true in order to take a true 5-day vacation. And then you can start experimenting and designing your way forward. Maybe it's borrow a friend's home. Maybe it's buy groceries and then drive just a few hours away. And to actually move out of that to say, I do have control. We get it. You're busy. You want to grow and we want to help. You're passionate about your craft because it deeply matters to you. Your faith is important. It's your foundation. At Stay Forth, we coach leaders to avoid burnout, live and lead with clarity, purpose, and from a place of health. We want you to experience long-term impact. Welcome to the journey. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Stay Forth Leadership Podcast. You are catching us in episode 2 of our summer series. Jonathan, why do we love our summer series over here on the podcast?
It's a different way to communicate important information. We record them. I listen to each and every one of them just because they're different and it's fun.
There's like 84 trillion podcasts out there. Everyone I know seems to be having and some people have like 2 or 3 podcasts. They're everywhere, but every podcast is bringing you some form of valuable information, or it wouldn't be out there, or banter at least. But what we're trying to do is actually pair information with transformation. And we do that through coaching leaders. We're amazing at helping leaders find clarity so that they can take courage on that. Helping leaders find awareness so that they can take action. So here's the goal. Here's our crooked motive during this whole podcast series is that you would gain awareness in one area of your life and you'd be able to take some action steps. Now, where are we in the context of this? Well, this is week 2 of our anti-burnout summer series. This is our 3rd summer in a row of doing this, and we've gotten great feedback. Some of you mountain bike while listening to this, or walk, or hike, or sit on the back porch. But we want this to be different from you just kind of getting more information in your noggin, which that's great. Information is helpful. But friends, it is only as helpful as you applying it to your life. So as Jonathan said, we want this to be refreshing and different and fresh for you. We're actually talking about freshness and newness today. So I wanted to get really personal for myself and talk about when I'm feeling a little bit stuck, where do I go? What do I do to be able to find newness and freshness? I want to hear from you next, Jonathan. So I'll kick it off. Sometimes when I'm feeling stuck, often at the end of a week, I need to get in a completely different environment. And so that phrase here, change of pace plus change of place equals change of perspective. Think about that. Pace, place, perspective. When you can change kind of your rhythms, your routines, when you can change the place that you're in, then you can find a new perspective. It works for me every time. And so sometimes I actually love going either to like a different coffee shop in town that I normally don't go to, or a park if I can get outside, or put my hammock up somewhere it just gets me into a different space instead of going home into my same rhythm and routine. Secondly, when I get outside, it's just a win for me. Again, whether it's a park or I love going up to the mountains. And, I live in Colorado. It's gorgeous here. Jonathan, you live in Virginia. You can get to the Shenandoah Mountains pretty quickly. There's just something about the mountains that draws my eyes upward and gets me away from the noise. I'll put my phone on airplane mode, do not disturb. And that's one of the ways that I find freshness and newness in my life. What about you, Jonathan? Where do you find that?
By the end of the week, I'm pretty much done with technology, that was a hard realization for me to come to because I love technology. But by the end of the week, getting away from computer, my phone, iPads, television, even the radio, and just shutting it off and just getting, whether it's outside, a longer workout in the gym, the kayak in the water with the dog, head to the beach, being away from just instant information and supercomputers that fit in our pockets is probably one of the better ways that I can find newness, because it's so easy for me to, if I'm feeling stuck, to just kind of mask it by saying, okay, I can do this, I can do that. And, then you're doom scrolling and things like that. So if I could just simply shut my phone on privacy mode and just venture into the outside or sitting around a coffee shop with some friends, having a conversation, that's probably the easiest way for me to get unstuck and find some freshness.
Yeah, it's one of the hazards of work today is that I actually coach people across the country in different states throughout the course of the week. We're online together. We're recording this podcast. And so many leaders tell me, I can't get away from technology. My job literally requires it. I say, no, you can. And it's going to take intentionality. And so I think it's really important to realize none of these shifts that we're talking about this summer, these mindset shifts, these reframes are going to happen accidentally. Friend, if you continue in the patterns that you have, you will feel something that we're going to talk about today that is a bad, bad feeling. It can be a claustrophobia inside of our lives, and simply we call it stuckness. So that's the obstacle we're taking on today. What's the opportunity? The opportunity is newness. Stuckness to newness. Let me read a phrase here before I dive in to this. The keystone phrase here that's at the beginning of each of these sections here in the book. I'm reading starting in page 67 here in the book. We're covering one section each week of this reframe throughout this summer series of these 8 weeks. Getting unstuck requires us moving from a victim to a designer. From a victim to a designer. Friend, if you are going to realize that you have agency in your own life, you're going to have to start with this reality. You are not a victim. You are not a victim. Not to say that nothing hard or bad has happened to you in your life. There are terrible atrocities and there are hard things that have happened to all of us. But we cannot choose to live there. We actually have to move to a designer. And that is this whole reframe here. It's talking about this feeling of stuckness. Here's what's really important to understand. You are not stuck. You just feel stuck. You're not stuck inside of your life. You just feel stuck. You have agency. You have the ability to move and to shape and to change things, even if there are small things. You may feel stuck inside of your job. I want to ask you to reframe that from a victim, this job is terrible and I'm stuck here, into a designer. How could I shift or mold this job so it's better fit for me? You may feel stuck inside of a toxic relationship. Friend, you have agency. You can either leave that relationship, you can shift that, you can have a hard conflictual conversation. I was talking to a leader the other day, and they were sick and tired of being sick and tired in this relationship. Guess what they had? A conflict conversation. They were clear about how it felt, how they experienced that relationship. Guess what happened? A newness in the relationship, a fresh perspective, and an awareness the current way of doing it no longer works. And if we can stay in relationship, then you need to do this. And they saw some breakthrough. They saw some freedom. That can happen in almost any area of your life. And so the reframe here is to experiment. You have to move from feeling stuck inside of this to realize I'm not stuck, even though I feel that way. I'm going to make small experiments and push my way forward through this. Jonathan, what would you say to that?
It's how we talk to ourselves. I know for me, what if I feel stuck in certain situations or something, just things are just not going right? It comes back to, my self-talk, like negative self-talk or critical self-talk, catastrophic thinking, whatever you want to call it, is, it keeps you into a place where you feel like you're spinning your gears. And so changing how you respond to yourself internally or things you verbalize can go miles in helping you uncover and bring clarity to those little experiments, as you called, to make small shifts, to find some traction and start moving forward again.
Dr. Henry Cloud talks about this and says that whenever we're feeling some form of an issue, an obstacle, a weight on us, we can move to this feeling of a victim that leaves us with these 3 Ps. That this change or this problem feels personal, it feels pervasive, and it feels permanent. Personal. It feels like it's only me that's going through this. No, a lot of people feel stuck inside of their lives. It's not just you. It feels pervasive. It's true in every area of life. In every area of life, I'm struggling right now, and it's not working for me, and it doesn't fit. And that's just not true in your own life. And then it feels permanent. It's always going to be this way. That's that death spiral you're talking about, Jonathan, that we can go into where we're just feeling like, oh man, we're stuck inside of this. What gets us out of this is actually moving. I want to give you a key kind of question that is actually a tool here, not something to reflect on, but a tool for you is when you're feeling stuck inside of an area of your life. Instead of saying, well, here's the way it is, lift up your vantage and ask, what would have to be true in order to blank? Let's say you're feeling stuck financially. So many Americans feeling stuck financially right now. This is an expensive time to live. And if you're feeling stuck financially and say, oh, I could never. I talked to a leader the other day, said, oh, I could never take a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in, I think it was 6 years. Then shift it to what would have to be true in order to take a true 5-day vacation. And then you can start experimenting and designing your way forward. Maybe it's borrow a friend's home. Maybe it's buy groceries and then drive just a few hours away. And to actually move out of that to say, I do have control. I don't have to go to some $2,000 all-inclusive to get my 5-day vacation. So to break that cycle she's been in of not having a vacation in 6 years, she's going to have to get creative. What would have to be true in order to blank? All right, Jonathan, I know you're going to lead us toward a reflection question. What do you got for us?
It's important when you're feeling stuck. Stuckness has a lot of emotional weight that carries with it. And when you can, I'm not saying ignore those emotions, but I would say when you identify them and even physically write them down, this is how I'm experiencing this, and then remove the emotions away from it to then make a decision, that will help you start to move forward. But you have to come with some mindset shifts. So as we leave you some time and space to think and to process, I want you to reflect on your mindset. What are the current beliefs that you have? What are the thoughts that you have? What is the self-talk that you have that are broken? And then what needs to change?
I think this is such a great place to pause. Again, you can keep this episode paused if you didn't get to that. There's a broken mindset inside of all of us that's holding us back from the life we're designed to live. That we were designed for freedom. We were designed to have an impact. We are designed as communal creatures. And if you are feeling that you are stuck within that, there is a mindset that is broken, that is leading to either broken actions or a lack of action. God has built us to actually move and shape the environments around us. For, again, that agency word, to have agency on our environment. So it's really important. If we talked about last episode, if we can identify a lie that we're feeling, then we can replace it with the truth. If you can identify what's broken about the mindset, put some mortar on that crack, let it dry and move your way forward so that you can live your way into the life you're designed to live. As a person of faith, I believe that then the Holy Scriptures that God talks about that we are a new creation. We are a new creation. God's always doing a new thing, both inside of us and in the world. The question is not, is God doing a new thing? The question is, are we going to see it, and are we going to participate? If your head is stuck in the news, I can tell you, you go, here we are, another election cycle, just like 8 years ago and just like 4 years ago, or here we are on another financial crisis in my life. Here we are, I'm in another conflictual relationship with somebody at work. Here we are. And to stop and actually to go, something new is coming. And I want to give you 6 different things, different areas of newness. I just want to remind you, friends, pick up the book. I explain these in more depth than we can do here in about 20 minutes in an episode. But 6 new things that you need to think about. And the last question talked about mindset. Is that when something feels stuck or when you feel stuck, first of all, we got to start with a new mindset. What needs to change inside of me? The second thing are options. You need new options. Is that maybe if it's like, well, I can either do this or this, whoa, you need a third or a fourth or a fifth option. What other options are there, even if they feel crazy? The third thing, you need new actions. Sometimes I just do something completely off the cuff and wacky for that day because I know it will throw me into a little bit of a different rhythm or routine. If I'm used to doing, some work task here, I'll do it in a different place. If I'm used to connecting with somebody and doing a coaching call this way, I don't want to get stuck in a rut. I'll do it a completely different way to be able to freshen things up. We need new actions. Again, new mindset, new options, new actions. Habits is the next one. What new habits do you need in your life? If you feel stuck inside of an area, my guess is that your habits served you well up to now and they're no longer serving you. Maybe they never served you well and you have bad habits, but maybe they worked for a while. I know for me, I'm sure for you, Jonathan, I've had things that worked awesome until they didn't. Like they literally were life to me and then they just stopped working. For me, exercise outside is amazing and then it gets to be 15 degrees in the winter and I have to change my actions. Guess what? I see a new result. The next one are environments. This is one I want to kind of camp out on for a second. If you are looking for newness in your life, change your environment. Change the people that you're around. I actually lead over a co-working space and a hub and event space here in Colorado Springs called Co-Harbor. And in this space, we're creating this safe harbor for people and people that will say, oh yeah, I've been working from home. I don't need an office. And I'll say, how's that working for you? The environment is not a creative environment at home. And eventually people have to get out. They have to change things. And this is a huge one this summer. This is actually what we're asking you to do in the podcast is we're saying, get outside. If you normally podcast in your car, then get outside and take a walk. You normally do it while you're doing dishes or you're working out. Get outside, get on a mountain bike, try something new. Jonathan, you're talking about getting on the water. Change your environment from land to water. I love getting in my pack raft and going down a river. Guess what? I can't think about anything else when I'm going down the river, but what's the next curve? Where am I heading? And that's a good, helpful environment for me. The last thing are relationships. If you want to shift and you feel stuck in your life, you probably need new relationships. I heard a leader the other day talk about he wanted to quit smoking so badly and he realized with my old homies, I'm never going to be able to quit smoking. So actually I'm going to have to go get new relationships for people that don't take smoke breaks. For you, if you want to go to the next level, maybe you have to get away from people that have stinking thinking and you actually have to move toward people that have lift in their life and are seeing freedom and joy and the kind of health that you want to see in your life. So again, those are changing and seeing a fresh or a new mindset, new options, new actions, new habits, new environments, and new relationships. I explain those all in depth in the book. That's the kind of newness that we want to invite you into. So, Jonathan, what's the next question you got for us?
Yeah, as we leave you with another bit of space, we'll catch back with it here in just a few minutes. I want you to think about the areas that Alan discussed very quickly. Which of your habits, your environments, your actions, and your relationships are lacking and creating stuckness, and then what are you going to do about it?
Another good one here, but what makes a good episode versus a great episode is moving from information to action. That is how your life will transform, not by just simply soaking in good content. And we hope to bring you good, nourishing, flavorful, fresh content here. But that's not enough. We cannot apply it to your life. Something came up in these questions that was a fresh spark, a new awareness for you. And what we want you to do is to move on that, to act on that. And so to just simply say, what's your next right step based on the awareness that you've gained here? Maybe something is broken and maybe you need to create one of those areas of newness. We just want to invite you and leave you with this. What is your next action, your next right step? Friends, we are on the journey with you here at Stay Forth. Again, we are leadership coaches. And what that means is that we help leaders to clarify what is their next obstacle, what's the opportunity on the other side of that, and then how do you move more toward freedom, more toward the life that you're designed to live. We're going to continue to talk about that here. This was our second episode of the Anti-Burnout Summer Podcast Series. We want you to live lighter in your life. We want you to lead lighter, whether you're leading a team, a family, whether you're serving your community through a nonprofit, whether you are a CEO leading a large organization. Friend, this is a place where we are going to draw you to your next right step. We got more good ones coming for you, but I want to remind you, pick up my book on Amazon, Anti-Burnout, A Lighter Way to Live and Lead in a Heavy World. That'll kind of help you understand what's coming here in the series, and there's so much packed in here that we can't get to. We'll catch you guys on the next episode right here next week. We're going to continue in this summer series. We'll see you then.